start the work session for May 4th, and may I be the last to tell you. May the 4th be with you. And that's coming from a Star Trek fan, so you know I'm just trying to stay up to speed on things. So we have a couple of items.
That's on our ward.
Well, I know that, but that's, even I as a Star Trek fan, as a Trekkie, is able to admire May the 4th be with
You are starting to look like Kirk.
you. Yep, no, he had a lot more hair.
Well, not now.
Anyway,
He still looks really good.
he does look good, yes, absolutely. Our first item is ordinance review. So, as you know, I've been going through old ordinances and doing updates. A number of them haven't been updated for a long time. So I'm going through, now I've finished all the business licensing, now I'm going into the public works section, or the traffic, public safety section right now. So that's this one. Eventually we will get into the public works section where we'll talk about solid waste, and that'll actually be a topic for our next workshop. And I'll touch a little bit with you on the staff reports on that. But this one is on traffic and parking. The chief has reviewed the proposed changes here and is supportive. And so the recommendation that we'd be looking for after I go through this would be to allow me to forward it to the city attorney for review. So we've just, the ordinance regarding the general provisions for traffic was really limited to, didn't have any references to e-bikes, e-motos, UTVs, or those side-by-sides. So a lot of those products didn't exist when this ordinance was initially adopted. So we put in definitions for all of those, and also and included those types of things in regulations, particularly the e-bikes and such, e-motos in the bicycle section, and the UTVs with the ATVs and such. So there's a number of definitions in there. And so we just talk about the general compliance that they need to comply with all of our state traffic laws, that they need to comply with lawful orders of a police officer or a traffic control device, that just clarifying careless operation, that that no person will operate any vehicle in a careless, reckless, or negligent manner, and then clarifying on riding restrictions, that you can't ride on a portion of the vehicle not designated or intended for the use of passengers. So I know it takes away our childhood from memories of riding in the back of a pickup, but it's not safe anymore.
Handlebars in the front and right.
Yeah, that too. So this is not safe for that. So we're just giving tools to our police officers to keep folks safe. That does not necessarily mean that it's a ticket or something of an enforcement mechanism. It allows them to make a stop and communicate those safety things. We made some updates to the seasonal road restriction language. So instead of having a situation where we may have to do an emergency road restriction, the current language talks about that the council can only do that by resolution. We clarified that the council or its designee may, either the council by resolution or the designee by administrative order, do those traffic restrictions. So so periodically a water main break or some situation come out, allow us to be able to make that order lawfully through delegation by the council. So just updating that we've provide that notice through our website, our customary communication methods, as well as the manner, provided under, statute. Talking about regarding, if, you know, we can grant, permission for use of a street, or, as long as they provide in a way that may not be normally allowed if they provide a cash deposit or a letter of credit or for their financial security, making sure that, it brings the street back up to, the way it was before, the restriction, so. Then we, going into 704-030, all-terrain vehicles, that's going to get amended to be off-road vehicles, so ATV got replaced with ORV, which is off-road vehicle. That covers the UTVs, or those side-by-sides, as well as an ATV. So that language was replaced throughout, putting in a safety requirement on those side-by-sides, saying that, if they're required, if they're designed to carry more than one occupant, then whatever the number of occupants, shall not exceed the number of seats provided by the, provided in the ORV. So if it has 2 seats, you can't fit 4 people in it, that type of thing. Any questions on those 2 sections before I move on to snowmobiles?
I'd like to actually take a look at, the e-scooters as well.
We'll get to that, that's under, bicycles, I believe.
I didn't really see it defined, so that's kinda why I was wondering.
Okay, I think, let me just double check the definition here on ORV.
Page 1, I think it says bicycles and e-bikes, bicycles equipped, fully operate pedals or electric motors, lessons are around 750 watts.
Right, but it's not a bicycle, it's a scooter. It's flat platform like a skateboard, wheels, has a motor, can go 30.
Oh, those, okay.
Yeah, those.
We certainly can look at adding that in.
Okay.
To that, we can create a definition for that, and
Perfect. The Anoka County Sheriff at the local government officials meeting last week had some statistics on e-scooters that lead me to believe they're not toys, number one, and they're not horribly safe. So I think giving the police tools to deal with that in the community would probably be helpful.
okay.
We have a gentleman riding around the city on one with one wheel.
A unicycle?
No, that's one wheel skateboard.
Oh.
And it's electric.
Oh,
You know, so there's a wide range of those items that are.
yeah, I've seen
And
those.
there's also the segways.
The segways, well, yeah, they're not,
My friend from Fridley was the only person I knew that was doing a Segway. And the Segways are out of vogue, they're not manufacturing anymore. They've gone into the electronic things. So,
Well, I saw them being used last summer here, so.
it might have been Matt, the guy who dressed up in,
The banana suit.
the banana suit, Gumby suit, and whatever else. He was a frequenter of, ODFW.
And then the other question that I have with, off-road vehicles is, it sounds like they can be driven on city streets with mufflers, proper licensing, etc.
yeah. I mean, they're generally allowed on, they're not allowed on state highways, but they're generally allowed on county roads, and so we've kind of followed that approach. But if you want to prohibit them on city streets, we certainly can. They do have to have all of the safety equipment in order to be driven on the city street.
Like mine's got a plow on the front of it, and I plow other people's neighbors' driveways out with mine. You know, so, I mean, it's probably 4 people in my neighborhood that have them, but plows on the front to do their driveway, and they go down and hit the edges where the mailboxes are, so you ain't gonna shove it, you know, so. Okay.
don't necessarily see I don't see a reason to regulate it if it's not a problem. So I guess that would be the question.
Yeah, we really haven't had any problems with it. I don't see a reason to regulate it either. If it's registered through the state and we're not having any issues, then it's okay to be on the streets.
Okay.
So we get 1 or 2 complaints a year of like an ATV or something on the street, but it's pretty rare.
Okay.
And then just, the scooters are, under the statute, are just like bicycles, electric bicycles. So I think a definition would be fine in there to add into there, but it's regulated just like the e-bicycles.
Mhm.
So
Right.
with the wattage and the speed limits and all
Yeah.
that.
With the new state bill that came up about the e-bikes, that he got run over on the sidewalk by some kid on one that was going fast, it just matched what the new one is.
Yes. So you would not be allowed to drive a class 3 on a sidewalk. That's
That's
not,
what happened there.
yeah, that's not allowed, so. The electric assist is allowed, although those can get up to 20+ miles an hour, easy. But the class 1 and class 2, I know the class 1 is allowed on a sidewalk, I double check.
Class
that.
2 is as well. Class 3 is not allowed.
All right, let's see. So the snowmobiles, we just clarified on use on public property, so they can't operate on property owned or controlled by the city unless specifically authorized. And then the operation, just talking about that they can't operate it in a careless, reckless, or negligent manner, or in a manner that endangers or is likely to endanger any person or property. Those are the only 2 changes regarding the snowmobiles.
I haven't seen a snowmobile running in the city for many years or so.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's real rare. I mean, but we wanna keep the language in the code, so if we do run into that situation, the police department has the tools to be able to do something.
We get them on the lake occasionally. So.
Yeah, and they're not allowed on the lake.
Correct. But
I used to have people running their snowmobiles on my property
Really?
and jumping them, because there's a, skeleton.
John
Scary.
Mason.
Put up a lot of signs.
Who was John Mason?
I don't know who it was. It was somebody on Able Street that was doing that.
John Mason used to do it too, cause he got into racing, and you're talking about the hollow block,
Yeah.
yeah. Where the bowling range used to be.
So moving on to bicycles, 70450, we just added in that, whenever there's bicycle, we added an electric assisted bicycle as well, which is defined in the earlier section there. Just ensuring that, clarifying pedestrians always have the right of way, in regarding bicycles or electric assisted bicycles and those uses. Just limiting, just the language previously just said no bicycle can be ridden faster than reasonable or proper. We added the electric assisted bicycle in there as well. We did set a speed limit on sidewalks and shared use paths of 10 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. That's to try and, from a safety standpoint, try and not have a situation where you have someone die from getting run into by one of these, because they are significantly heavier than a bicycle. Requiring on these, the bicycle proper brakes and audible signals, and then if it's an e-bike, that they need to have the classification number in a location visible to the operator so that they know. So the bike will say if it's a class 1, class 2, or class 3. We allowed the class 1 and class 2 electric assisted bicycles on sidewalks unless it's otherwise posted. The class 3 is prohibited on sidewalks unless it's expressly authorized, which we wouldn't have any. The shared use path and trails, the same situation. Electric motorcycles, electric dirt bikes, similarly high-powered devices are prohibited on sidewalks, trails, and other areas designated for bicycles. So, making sure that those uses aren't in those areas. So, any questions regarding the bicycles? Median safety, we just did some updates on that. We've added a purpose statement just to justify why we have the median safety ordinance, just to reduce some conflicts between pedestrians and vehicular traffic. We clarified, the prohibition section to make sure that it's just more, it's more enforceable under the proposed language that, regarding how to determine whether a person is crossing or not. And then everything else is basically the same on that. We did add a provision that allows the police department to enforce that section through administrative citation. So that's in that process. Clarify that. Any questions on the median safety ordinance? Moving on to parking, which is 7.08. We just clarified that state law regarding parking is adopted by reference, that in addition to the police chief and myself, the public works director can also prohibit parking for temporary periods on any location within the city in the event of an emergency. So just adding public works director on that, mainly for those situations that I mentioned before, if you have a water main break or a sinkhole develop or something of that nature, or a major snow emergency or something of that nature, public works director will be able to do that. Clarified how we determine if a vehicle has been parked in a specific street or right away for more than 24 hours at any time. That was, as we clarified how we will determine that within the code. Regarding large trucks and commercial vehicles, no one references a commercial truck with over 1 ton carrying capacity that is really difficult for the police department to determine, and it's not a generally standardized system, so that has been changed to a gross vehicle weight rating in excess of 10,000 pounds, and that's more standard within state law. We also proposed a change here under the commercial bus prohibition because what we were running into was Metro Mobility wouldn't come into the city because of this provision of the commercial bus vehicle. That's why we were running into some issues with Metro Mobility, so we're clear. I did give them a clarification that this provision didn't apply to them, but I wanted to make that real clear ever in the future that those fixed route buses, the paratransit or the on-demand or microtransit that Met Council just started operating recently is allowed to be parked in the city as long as they're loading passengers or unloading passengers. And then, we also proposed to put in the, prohibiting a camper, recreational vehicle, motorhome, non-commercial trailer on any street or right away for more than 24 hours, except for the purpose of actively loading or unloading. So, matches up with our prohibition on the, any motor vehicle to be on there for any more than 24 hours at a time. Just clarified that, the ordinance also talks about, not allowing any vehicles to be parked in a way that obstructs or impedes the normal flow of traffic or access by emergency vehicles. And then updated the seasonal restrictions ordinance, allowing, myself or the public works director or the designee to declare a snow emergency and impose temporary parking restrictions, to facilitate snow removal operations. Any questions regarding parking, or that part, general provisions section? 708-030, talks about, the admin enforcement, just clarifies, that we can enforce, through petty misdemeanor or through our administrative citation process, just clarifying, that we have been using administrative citations, but we wanted to make sure that, that was specifically, outlined in the code. That we were allowed to remove a vehicle without prior notice if it's left unattended and constitutes a obstruction to traffic, interferes with snow removal or emergency operations, is parked in violation of seasonal restrictions, or otherwise creates a hazard to public safety. We just wanted to, so before we just wanted to just clarify what those situations were where we would do vehicle removal. And then we also are proposing to delegate to any other staff, so particularly code enforcement. State law allows us to delegate the duties of a parking enforcement officer to other individuals other than licensed police, and so we can do that under that law, and then the ordinance empowers us to be able to do that. With the chief to make those appointments. So that is parking. Any questions regarding parking?
Yeah, under C, unclaimed vehicle storage lien. Have we ever had anything like that happen?
I believe we have, chief.
Yeah, we do occasionally, we'll have a vehicle that's not picked up.
Uh-huh, so then, where do you put that at, in Anoka? So where does that go then?
The vehicle, they go to, citywide. They usually store those at the Blaine location,
Okay.
for us, yep.
Our contracted, tool facility.
Yeah.
Accidents and EWIs and
Right.
unless they can't get there,
Mhm.
it's gotta get out then.
And citywide, through our contract, they notify the owners,
Uh-huh.
and they have that specific time frame through state statute to pick the vehicle up.
Mhm.
And then we've never kept a vehicle ourselves, usually that goes through citywide at that point. And they'll go through the process of changing registration after that state law time frame is passed.
And then citywide will sell it to
Yeah.
recoup the money from the storage, towing and storage of the vehicle.
If we were to try and put liens on them ourselves as a city, we'd be responsible for any storage fees or any tow fees. And storage fees can be extremely expensive.
Oh, yeah.
I think right now it's up to almost $30 a day. So if a car sits there for a month, I mean, it's very expensive.
right, do I have, authority to give this to the city attorney for further legal review and for future presentation to the council for possible adoption?
Do you need a motion on that?
No, just consensus.
I say aye.
Yeah, good.
Okay. We will do that. Our next item is a discussion on the University Avenue Service Drive that Barbara requested that we bring up, so Barbara, I will
Yeah, one of
turn it
our,
over to you.
yeah, one of our residents brought this up to me. I helped her a couple of years ago and,
Is that the rate on the corner?
Hmm?
Is that the rate on the corner again?
it's
Because-
Rosedale and,
Yeah.
Service Drive.
and Service Drive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, it's on.
Yeah, yeah. And, the chief, I think you have specifics on this because you put up, a speed.
Yeah, after we were directed, thank you,
Mhm.
Councilmember Bischoff. After we were directed to, we put a speed, trailer up. We put it up on the frontage road, and right at Rosedale. And we found that, as good as that technology is we can't pinpoint as well as we'd like to. So we were mainly picking up University Avenue. So our speeds were, and you could tell from that because there were hundreds of cars that were 50, 55, 60 miles an hour.
Okay,
So what we did is this last week on Friday, I had them move it into the church parking lot. And just over the weekend, from Friday to today, it picked up 97 cars. But I think what's important to note about that is I would say the majority of those cars were probably on the frontage road turning to Rosedale. The
okay.
cars that we did see come into the parking lot, or we can't see them, but we think came into the parking lot are the cars that are between like 10 and 18 miles an hour.
Mhm.
There was one, we did significantly cut down on the university traffic, but there was still a little bit. And we can tell that just because there's no way you're gonna get up to 60 miles an hour from that stop sign to Living Springs Church.
Mhm.
So, there were 97 cars that came total. There was a church day with that as well, so
Mhm.
probably between 25 to 30 cars, that were on that. And, you know, I get it, I understand the concern from the resident.
Mhm.
We sat an officer out there for 2 days as well during, some of the high traffic times.
Mhm.
And not one car came through the parking lot at the church.
Mhm.
So, I think what we're gonna have to do if we wanna get some more information on it is get a hold of the resident, and then we'll try and find out when she's seen these larger vehicles come through. Because we're not seeing them at the police department.
By larger vehicles, you mean trucks?
I think she had mentioned there was a truck that came through several times a day that had maybe a trailer on it that was shaking the house.
Mhm.
You know, Dan and I had a discussion about this. I think even if that trailer and that truck were to go onto Rosedale, it might still shake the house at that point, because the distance from the roadway to the house is almost the same from the distance from the driveway or the service drive to the side of their house. So I don't know even if we do something here at this roadway, I don't know that it's gonna change much, because they're still gonna have that traffic on Rosedale Road. Dan and I discussed, and I think our recommendation would be to put in some sort of signs, on the going in and entrance on both sides, like maybe either like a private drive or no through traffic.
Mhm.
And then I think we can go on and petition to Google Maps, to make that a private drive rather than to have it part of the university service drive at this
Mhm.
point. And I think we would be within our legal rights to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would just, we just tell Google Maps that that's a private drive, and then their GPS and giving locations wouldn't send people through there, it would send them around.
Mm.
So,
I have a new email from her. Hi Barbara, good evening. I wanted to let you know that I have noticed when the police put the speed radar post at the entryway to the church parking lot, it seemed to deter traffic from speeding through the entry to the lot. The police have since moved the radar to the middle of the church parking lot, and I've noticed some vehicles speeding through the entryway again. Particularly the one truck with the heavy trailer, and it is fast enough where it literally shakes my home due to the speed and weight of the vehicle. I know you're working on this, and I just wanted to let you know my observation with the speed radar being moved from the entryway to the middle of the lot. I realize traffic will still go by, but it would be nice to have something posted to be hopefully help reduce the speeding issue, especially truck trailer that goes by 2 to 3 times a day. Thank you kindly, Amy.
So it's a contractor that's doing it.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. I mean, the other option, I mean, if the residents are seeing a decrease in speed when we have a sign there, I mean, that there is an option to put a speed sign there. That's our trailer, so it's a mobile one. But I mean, that's more money, you know, putting a sign there, and they're not cheap. Just to have that short distance between that 79th and Rosedale Road. So, I think if we do some of those options, maybe have some signs put in, that say it's a private drive, maybe there'll be less people that go there, through the church parking lot. I think they have to, if we have less people going in there, they'll have to slow down significantly to make that turn onto Rosedale Road, that eastbound turn. So that should help with some of that speed as well, because it is a straight shot, I mean, from 79 into the church parking lot and off to. I drove over there, I haven't seen any contractor trucks, so I don't know where this contractor's coming from. You know, the one that's there 2-3 times a day. I haven't seen it parked in the neighborhood, at the very least, so.
Or how about Northtown Apartments?
I haven't driven through the apartment complex, but I'm not gonna say that Northtown wouldn't allow them to, but I can't imagine, they regulate the parking in Northtown Apartments pretty good. I can't imagine they'd allow them to have a contractor truck in there with a trailer. So, but I can definitely, double check on it.
And a speed bump doesn't work in this situation because
No.
it's gonna bounce the trailer even worse.
And the
So-
churchgoers.
Yeah, so, we think this is a reasonable first step to, try and address this, and, I mean, we're probably not gonna ever solve every incidence of this, but if we can reduce the, frequency, then.
Okay, so we're saying,
Snow removal in the winter, putting up a speed bump.
I know,
You
exactly.
know, and it's hard on the equipment, hard on us, hard, you know, I mean, whether it's city equipment or their, private contractor for the church, you know. You forget it's there and you're driving 20 to push a whole big load in it, and it's a little hard on the front end of the truck.
So it's a possibility of 2 signs, one that puts up the speed limit, and the other one says no turn.
is that correct, Chief?
Well, we put up 2 signs, one on each direction, because we wanna cut off the direction from the other side, 2 on Wildwood,
For no through traffic.
for no through traffic. So we put 2 no through traffic signs on. We could put a speed limit sign up, but, I mean, the way our ordinances and our state statutes are written, everybody should know it's a 30 mile an hour if it's not posted, so.
Well, that sounds reasonable, yeah.
And we can test it, we can put the trailer out once those signs go in and see if we're seeing less. We can shut that sign off as well, just so you guys know, and still collect data from it. It just shuts the sign off and doesn't blink at people if they're speeding. So,
Okay.
we do see behavior changes when that happens, when we do shut the signs off, so.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Dan, can I bring up one more, parking related thing, just real quick? I spoke to Dan about this, we got a request from Oakcrest Senior Apartments, May 18th, they're gonna have their driveway, and kind of their main parking area there redone, and they're requesting that we allow some on-street parking overnight. They have asked the business, just to the west of them, if they can use the parking lot, but they don't think there's gonna be enough spaces there for them to be able to use. So we're looking at, putting them behind Oakcrest on the streets back there. I wanted to see what the council's thoughts were on that, if you guys are okay with that. I think there's, Westwood and,
I did put that and include that in the council update, I believe.
yeah. We think that's the best location to put them. They asked to be on the frontage road at first, and that was a hard no, with how narrow that road is, so. But I wanted to.
Is that a mill and overlay or just a seal coat?
I think it's a mill and overlay they're doing. It'll be for about a week. And then we'll get a letter out to the residents in that area, just letting them know there'll be a little extra traffic on their street and a little extra car parking. Make sure that they're following, our ordinances with parking by mailboxes and
Yeah,
driveways.
the new one that we just did because of the problems on Quincy, or Van Buren, I mean.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of people in Westwood have been there for years.
Yeah.
And they never ran into that, so they will not have any.
Well, that's why we're going to let them know that it's a
Yeah.
temporary situation.
Better make sure that that's clear, cause, I mean, I don't know how you get any traffic unless you live there.
And hardly anybody parks on the street even.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not
they got
necessary over there.
Huge driveways,
Yeah.
long driveways, somehow
Yeah.
the driveway, I wouldn't wanna shovel it.
And there's that big park over there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I say, right?
Okay, thank you, I just wanted to let you guys know.
All right, thanks, chief. Our next item is the statement of values complaint and review process and next steps. So, staff received a complaint, alleging that conduct during the recent council work session did not align with the city's adopted statement of values. We've completed a preliminary review in accordance with the policy and are bringing this forward to the city council for discussion and direction on next steps. I'll let April talk about the complaint, specifically, but we have a process within that statement of values, that talks about how we do an initial review to determine whether a complaint has sufficient merit to proceed. And the complaint, does meet that threshold to proceed under that statement of values. And then, we determined that this matter was not well suited for an informal resolution process, so, that the policy then, provides that the city council, consider initiating a formal investigation, potentially including the appointment of an investigative committee or use of a third-party investigator. So, significant costs associated with third-party investigator, obviously, but we're just seeking direction from the council on how to proceed with that in accordance with the statement of values policy. And I ask that the council be respectful of each other during this conversation, because not only does the community have access to watching these meetings, our staff does, and generally a lot of our staff people do watch council meetings, just to get a sense of what's going on. And so your people are watching, your employees are watching, and it's really important that we do our best to maintain decorum and during city council meetings. So, April, turn it over to you since this was your request.
Absolutely. On the second email from me, it is detailed in what ways I feel our statement was violated. Starting off with number 2, the duties and responsibilities of holding public office. You'll conduct yourself in official and personal actions in a manner like that's the behoove of our station. You're ethical. I don't feel like I should read all of these. We all can read these. The largest ones are the ethical ones for me. The professional, the communicate effectively. When I joined this council and was voted in, my goal was to work collaboratively with everyone on this council. And that is being taken away every single time that there is name calling, cussing out, there is talking over, there's screaming, there's threatening, there's walking out. Like, there's no way for us as a team to work through that when there's parties not willing to work together. And that is one of the main reasons I brought this to the violation of statement of values. again, you can read all of the ways that I feel that this has, been violated, and I hope that we can kind of like come to a consensus as a group of how we can address this, so it doesn't continue to happen, so we can work as a team to continue to raise Spring Lake Park up.
Well, if I made anybody mad, I apologize. I'm opinionated, and I'm stubborn, and I'm point blank. I didn't mean to diss anybody. Sometimes my choice of words ain't the best. I work in a machine shop, so we talk like that every day at work. It's just allowed, so. And if I did make somebody mad or make you uncomfortable, I apologize for that. And I will try to improve so things work better and communication stays open and we'll.
Well, I don't think trying is gonna be enough. I think you have to.
Well, like I said, that's right, so we're getting.
Yeah, but you have to change. You're up for reelection, and this is gonna be a detriment to a possibility if you are running for, reelection. So there's not in trying, because, I don't know how far the community or city has read into this, or, we got about 9 people here that, are on the side of, questioning, are you meeting the value or not? And, those points prove that there isn't any value, being given, being taken away. I have, complaints with you, when you're over at your, over at Monty's, and, there's been things that you said that reflected on me that I heard back through the people at Monty's, and we were appreciative. So, but then, April, you contacted the Spring Lake Park Lions to talk politically to them. The Lions is a service group, they don't have any politics at all. Lisa, I heard that you were talking about the mayor to the mailman. That's not within these values either. So with that, that's all I gotta say.
Well, I would like to know how the tape of our city's private work session from April 4th arrived on Facebook and YouTube. How did that happen?
Well, these meetings are public meetings, and individuals are allowed to record them.
So who recorded that and sent that out? I wanna know that. Did it come from the city or,
It did not come from the
somebody
city.
within the audience on that day?
It did not come from the city.
Okay, I just wanna know. Well, I listened to the tape, which was posted on Facebook and YouTube, and I found it not to be in the best forum for our council debate. All parties cut other voices off and seem to push for confrontation. I do not feel this is a censorship offense on either side of the debate. In April's letter, she mentioned slurs from Mayor Nelson. I heard Native Americans, blacks, Mexicans, and my red brothers. These are terms that have been used for centuries. I did not hear any gay slurs. After listening twice to the workshop tape, actually 3 times, I found that all parties abrasively egged on the other side. I am sorry that Councilmember Moran finds all the joy has been sucked out of her time in council. But then what about Bob? His stress level is going through the roof. With your small group of residents and outsiders voicing their hostility the last couple months, this has gotta stop. During that same workshop debate, I was cut off by Councilmember Dirks twice. I did not get on my high horse and raise my voice, but I do want to clarify an issue I found offensive that Lisa stated. She said, I do not like our sitting governor. I have never stated my opinion on him. I do question certain of his policies, which is my right by being a legal tax-paying resident of Minnesota. He is a governor, and the office should have respect. In fact, the first time he ran, I voted for him. Here's a photo of the two of us together, and I do not think you see any dislike within this photo. Since council members Dirks and Moran have continued to state there is no political agenda on their side of this debate, I find it troubling that one of the people appointed for the flag committee, Senator Kunich, who is Spring Lake Park's House representative, has authored a bill, SF 5233, looking to reduce state local government aid to cities by 10% to fly the 1983 flag. How much more political can you get?
Am I able to address a few things? Number one, I don't think I need an apology by any means. I need our community to have an apology because it takes away from our valuable time of what we're doing here. Second, I don't need to listen to the recordings. I was here. You're right, he did not make any gay slurs during that time. I was talking about the time when we were over at the warming house when our city council area was still being redone. That was one of my very first interactions with Mayor Bob's anger and temper, and it has not ceased. It has not even lessened. If anything, it has gone up. I hear you saying this is how it is where you work. I work in another field as well. I don't bring that here. We shouldn't be bringing any of our stuff here, so it really isn't anything about that. You need to be able to communicate effectively. You need to have a two-way communication, being able to listen as well as return. You need to be able to not discriminate against us and the people who live in this community. I will not utter those words again that I heard in this council meeting that day, because they are horrific, they are offensive. And you're right, Indigenous, Native American, Black, African American are not bad words. Those are absolutely acceptable. The last one you said, absolutely is unacceptable to say. And those are my morals and ethics. I'm not trying to force anyone else to have that. However, when you're in a public setting, you have to think about the other people that you represent. You cannot just think about yourself and people who look like you. So if I want everyone to partake in civic engagement, I better be darn ready to engage with every single person who wants to, including the ones that maybe come off harsh towards me. I'm gonna listen. I received several emails about how they do support the old flag. Great, thank you for reaching out, because one of the things I did say in that meeting was I had not heard anything other than people wanting the state flag that is our state flag to be flown here. And I appreciate that they took the time to share, hey, I do want the old flag. That's great. I'm open for all communication, and that does not happen on this. And you're right, my joy has been removed from it because of the threatening, because of the violent words, because of people showing up, influence. So yeah, I do not want a third-party investigator. I don't want to cost this city any money. And something needs to happen to move forward. There needs to be a repercussion of some sort, a natural consequence of your actions for violating multiple statement of values. And I would expect the same for myself. I would 100% hold myself to that. So whatever we as a council decide, I will 100% stand beside it for myself as well. Just like I hold this statement of values for myself as well.
So you would agree to a stern warning and saying happens again, or anything that's close and similar, we go to a censure process?
I would be open to that as a discussion, but when is that warning, when do we decide it's more, right? Because this has been going on for almost 4 years. And that's just from me being here. In those 4 years, this has been happening. So like, when is that warning? You know what I'm saying? Just,
Well, as soon as we can possibly settle on a timeline to say, this is your warning, you know, take notice, next thing is a censure. So do we have to do a workshop for that, or is that something
I
we
think
think
the council would just come to consensus on where you feel this is something, this is always uncomfortable for us as staff to bring up, because council norms, that is an enforcement mechanism of the body of the council. You know, 5 of you, as well as being a team, need to hold each other accountable too. And, and that's difficult for us to be involved, because the 5 of you collectively are our boss.
So how many times have you said point of order?
So I can't even count.
Yeah, so, can we agree on today's date, or, is that too soon, or do you think we can back it off a little bit, or whatever? What's the general consensus?
May I ask a question, please? Would this be under enforcement, number 2, preliminary review? Is that what
This is your preliminary.
This is right now what we're doing here. So we are determining if the claim has sufficient merit to proceed at this point in time.
So I think what we're, the council has a number of different options, and John can talk about this further. I mean, one is the council could determine that it doesn't have merit to proceed, and just be concluded at that point. The council can ask for, the council committee of 2 members that is not, party to this, or a third-party investigator to explore this. I don't think that that's necessarily necessary either, because we were all here for that work session. And then the third option is the council can take some sort of action, whether it's just recommitting to the statement of values and stating that that we have an expectation for behavior, or it could go all the way up to formal warning, as Councilmember Wendland mentioned, or to a censure. So that's completely up to the council and how you want to handle this. The council polices itself. John, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, Council, that's well stated by Dan. I think that, the overall mechanism still here remains to be council enforces its own rules, hold each other accountable that way. In many of these situations, staff would be asking you if you want to assign, whether it's a subgroup or a third party to investigate something, information you would need in order to make a decision. I don't know that that applies here, just because of the nature, as Dan alluded to, you were all present, staff was present, there's a recording of it. If you think that there's further analysis that's necessary, you can direct staff on that. If not, you really deliberate on what you're gonna do about that as a group. Working backwards from, as Councilmember Wendland mentioned, you have censure as an option. You can stop short of that, you can take no action, and everything in between. But you analyze the conduct and what it is, and you decide what would this group do to ensure there isn't a repeat. And that's freely open for discussion. You can, it can be things that you impose on the group itself. For example, you could apply parliamentary procedure to your work sessions if you felt it was necessary. You could commit to a group training, things of that nature as well. It can be individualized, it can be as a group as well. So, I think you'll want to collaborate on that to determine what you feel as a group most appropriately addresses a violation, presuming that you agree with the ones.
Could you explain censure?
Sure.
In digest form?
Sure, yes, so a censure would really be done by resolution. It's basically a public reprimand of a member of your council, in which the council, by that resolution, makes certain findings about the conduct of one of its members, and can impose certain conditions to ensure that the conduct doesn't repeat itself. Oftentimes it's paired with certain removal of authority. You don't remove anybody from office, of course, but it might be that contact with outside agencies as liaison, and things like that are temporarily suspended while, conduct is reviewed or rehabilitation can take place. So there are some things you can do on that front. That would be the public memorialization of it. I think what you were suggesting would be something short of that would be a little more, there'd be some formality to it, but there's an informal, medium between the two points. But that would also be an option.
What would be a legal warning be in your mind?
Say that again?
What would be, in your mind, what a legal warning would be?
Censorship. That would be censorship,
No,
wouldn't it?
Well, it's, I guess, not to answer your question with a question, but that would really be back on what you felt was appropriate for that. The censure, remember, in and of itself, doesn't usually impose heavy consequences beyond the directives that are in it. And if you're thinking, well, that doesn't seem overly harsh, that's probably true, and that is the mechanism in state law for it, though. Things that are short of that would be your more informal directive because you want to see the change. Again, if you're looking at a censure resolution, you don't want to do it now, but you want to see this progress in whatever else there is before you do. You want to set clear guidelines. Generally speaking, when you have censure, you don't see a ton of ordered conduct, I guess is what I would say, in the sense that you're not having someone necessarily, you will go out and do X, Y, or Z. It's you won't do X, Y, or Z. And that oftentimes is paired with some walking back of that person's access or representation of the city council for a period of time until steps are taken.
is there a consensus of the warning? Us, well,
I like what you're saying, and after hearing everything, like a warning with the date of today and for the remainder of the mayor's term, in the event that it was to happen again, we would go to that next step. I also would love to throw out there, because there was a lot of comments of like, well, I didn't go to college, so I don't know. How does the team feel about, and I will take it too, all of us going to some type of ethics training to learn why these language or these words are so harmful to our community members.
the county or even Minnesota cities have a conflict resolution class or a mediation class?
Councilor Wendell, the League of Minnesota Cities does offer a course for the group. It has to be agreed to by all members. I believe it's free of charge, in which they would work with you on your council communication. And the fit for that really boils down to kind of everyone's buying for it. And candidly, we can, staff can vet that with the league and find out. I think it probably would be a fit for this. You can also seek third party within a specific, you mentioned that ethics training. If there's something that you specifically want to explore, we can look into that and bring you back options on that.
I mean, the free option is always the best option, right?
Yeah,
Because then it doesn't
right.
cost us anything.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that's a great place to start and bring us all back to center and that conflict resolution of one, how we can work together better, because that is a core issue. So I think with it being free and it harnesses a direct issue, I think that would be a great option with the warning.
In June, with our convention, there's probably something on the books there for that, with the League of Minnesota Cities. There usually is. Every year they have
Some ethics
something like
training?
that, yeah.
Yeah, they do typically include some course materials that, of course, are more generally given, aren't specific to your group. This would be someone coming to meet with your group and to work through your specific communication concerns.
And I'd rather have somebody from League of Minnesota Cities come here and discuss it to where you're not limited to 350 people falling asleep.
there a unanimous consensus on that part to bring in this resource?
Yes.
Yes.
Bringing the resource is fine. I believe an apology from Bob to April would be a good way,
I just did that.
a good way to start, yes, you did. I do not wanna see any type of censorship or dated material that, well, if he says something else, we're gonna hit him with something. No, that's my view.
Part of your letter that you read, part of that went both ways, it got contentious on both sides.
Yes, it was
And
very
all
contentious.
it does is escalate it into the real mess that we have now, because three of us didn't back down. And that's just the way it was, we just kept arguing, and that was very unproductive, so more people to blame than just myself, just the way it got out of control, because nobody had control of it, even had the ordinations. And so it's a multifaceted thing, and again, I'm sorry for the way I did.
Maybe all three of you should apologize to each other.
They start snapping back at me, I'm gonna snap right back, and it's just human nature with me, and usually with most people, so. When there's so many people involved, basically doing the same thing, in my mind, again, I'll
I like the warning moving forward with the rest of his term. If anything happens, we move to that next step and a training for all of us.
Agreed.
I'm good with that.
And not, no, not the warning. I will go with the, having the League of Minnesota Cities, talk to us, but I will not say yes to the warning.
So the question that I have, just from, and I want you to think about this as a group. It's one thing if something, one item slips out. I mean, there's degrees of offensiveness, are you looking at, if a cuss word comes out, does that
No.
guidance, I mean, what,
We
let's.
can really detail it out. What happened in that work session and previous work sessions where I've been cussed out and I've been threatened will not happen again. I need to make that as clear as possible, because then I have to consider my own personal safety. So like, that is where my threshold lies, is people swear. I really have zero concerns about the cussing until you're pointing your finger in my face, cussing me out, telling me you'll get it. Like, that's where my threshold ends. And I think all of our thresholds should end there, because we're humans, we shouldn't talk to each other that way.
I just wanted.
Yep, absolutely, I agree.
I wanted to clarify that, because I
Absolutely,
don't want to run into a situation where,
I agree.
it's something real minor and,
Yeah.
does this trigger this warning or not,
No.
and that's, I wanna make.
And I think we could put in the warning that we also have to discuss it and make sure that it's even a viable, to be considered a violation of that warning, right? Can we add that in there? Because I agree, I don't want to censor anyone. I want to feel respected and not threatened while I do whatever we do up here. And I hope that goes for everyone on this up here.
Okay. John and I'll take a stab at, working out a warning.
Just
Or not.
Well, I just wanted to clarify something. So I understand the desire with the warning is really to stop short of formal censure, to make all parties involved understand. They know what the rules are, and there'll be accountability, will be watched more closely going forward, right? This conversation, one can argue, has done that. So that would be one thought. If you want something memorialized, we want to distinguish, right, between what's a formal resolution of censure and what's a warning. What form does that take? And to your point, I don't know that you can ever capture every condition that you
Right.
you can't think of all the scenarios where it might come up. And to to Dan's point, you don't necessarily mean, oh, somebody lets a cuss slip or something, that's not really upsetting the applicant either. It's, is there a meaningful, repetition of the behavior that, you know, that puts someone, whether it's fear or distress on it? I think the council's gonna have to evaluate that as it comes. There's really not a whole lot of other way to do that. So, I guess I would be looking for a little guidance on what, if you want something more formal other than this direction right now, what that looks like, and does it have any conditions or things like that, or is it simple and more, this is what happened, we don't, you know, we're going to stick to the code of conduct.
It will be memorialized in the minutes too for the work
I think
session.
violating Robert's rules would be a very clear point to start, because I can't count how many times I've said, point of order, and it gets ignored.
Well, and to that point, and it's interesting you brought that up, because at the work session, you aren't gonna actually be bound by parliamentary procedure, you're not bound by Robert's rules here, so that's what's a little more informal setting. Now, at the council meeting, you are, and that can certainly be enforced through that mechanism, but one of the potential issues I see with this issue in the work session is you don't have parliament, so you could consider, for example, adopting parliamentary procedure in the work session,
Okay.
or you could have a different protocol about, something related to, presiding officer, if it ends up being, some contentiousness related to that, there's an agreement that Mayor Pro Tem can step in to finish running the rest of the second meeting or something. I'm throwing out ideas, and none of them are, you're bound to, it's simply up to the council, but, what I'm trying to do as I'm interpreting the direction here is differentiate what we would put on paper here versus what essentially is, right? They're two different things, and I know that's the intent, but I'm trying to discern how we draw that.
I think it would be great, considering we are so contentious at this point, to enact parliament rules in our work sessions, so we do have that point of reference, that we all conduct ourselves by. I don't know how council feels about that.
Robert's Rules of Order would be fine with me within the work session.
I think, all things considered, just bringing it up, I think that we should reconsider taping our work session meetings, because it does seem like, everybody behaves better when they're on camera.
Yes, but if that happens, we will have to pay for it more from, North Metro.
North
do that.
Metro covers the cost of recording the meetings, so that isn't an extra cost for us.
It wouldn't be an extra cost for the work sessions,
It wouldn't be to us.
it would be to us. Okay. That's fine.
I'm no complaint.
You're good with it too? All right, Bob?
Yep.
April?
Yeah, I'm fine with recording.
So we'll start recording that. I will let North Metro TV know that we will want to, when we have a work session, have them come earlier and do the recording of that too.
Does any other of, North Metro's cities, do they record the work sessions?
Generally, no,
I didn't think so.
but that is completely up to the council at any period of time to decide whether or not to do it. So,
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time we've had this large of a crowd for a work session. Normally, we're here by ourselves.
There's nobody.
Yeah.
So I don't mind taking,
Usually not all the consuls here either.
so, okay.
Are we enacting parliament, like the Robert's rules for our work session as well then?
That's
Yes,
what
Good
I,
idea.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
you know. That's the consensus, so.
Well, then perhaps the memorialization is simply that there has been a complaint brought forward, alleging violations of the code of conduct. The council has discussed that, and in response, are going to take steps to hold each other accountable, to include, recording all work sessions going forward and adopting Robert's rules of order.
And then the training with League of Minnesota
Right,
Cities.
the only piece on that is if we're looking at the League of Minnesota Cities, we don't want, Mayor, are you on board with that?
Yep.
There you go. Okay. Dan, I can.
Well,
That's
we'll
good.
put- we'll put some- That'll be documented in the minutes for this work session, so. Just a couple little minor reports here.
Including mine.
Well, why don't you go while I get this up here?
A week ago, we had the trash day in Springway Park, and I was over on Fillmore and, Manor Drive. Anyway, I collected an enormous amount of trash, and it got to be so heavy I couldn't even carry it any further. But, April, since you live over on Fillmore, you know of the two areas. The cul-de-sac, which is close to 81st, and of course, down, by the service drive, I mean, they're horrible areas. And then also on Manor, right across from Triangle Park, there is that wooded area, and that gets excessive trash in there. So I brought it up last year and probably the year before. I would like 5 signs, with the, amount $750 if somebody throws trash there, and I would like 1 in the cul-de-sac, 1, down by the service drive, and 3 across from Abel Park on the north side. That is what I'm proposing.
The fence line or all the way to the next street? On Eagle Park.
On Abel Park. No, did I say? Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, Triangle Park, the old Condi Park, right there. There should be, I would like 3 right there. It's fine, we put in signs across, or in front of Legends.
Yep.
We did that last year, and that is great over there, but then further down the street, it isn't, it's horrible.
No, just, the signs just basically move the problem, in other words.
Well, there's plenty of trash cans and recycle bins out there, so all these people have to do is get out of their car and throw it in the trash, you know?
Yeah, I
And
get it.
seeing that sign there,
Outside of Legends, there's still a ton of trash. I pick up bags of
Yeah.
people, the sign didn't stop it. It's just, the parking has moved to they don't park there anymore, so people aren't just dropping their trash out. But there's still quite a few people who just drop their trash out, and then when you drive down the road, you stop and pick up a McDonald's bag full of stuff and move it down the road to the trash can. But I agree it's a problem. I don't know if the signs will fix it. Is there a way we could talk to that, what is it, the busing company or transportation company that's in front of that wooded area to help clean that area? Because, yeah, to help clean that spot up, cause I agree, trash is piled up in there.
Are we still having problems with the field or the woods behind the orthodontist?
yes.
That's that
Yes.
other, at the.
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
other side.
yeah.
And the gentleman that lives across the street from there, he polices it too, but I mean, it is just ridiculous. And it shouldn't be, I mean, people will sit there, they will eat their lunch or eat their dinner and throw the contents out because it's kind of a secluded area.
I make a small wonder, how much is that wind blowing off of County Road 10?
I think that's a
I mean,
factor.
it still needs to be
Yes.
released.
Yeah, I think we have the same problem, cause Steve and I went and did Hy-Vee, the pond over by Hy-Vee, and, I mean, yeah, a lot of that is grocery store parking lot, but it's also born off of Central, born off of 65.
Same with San Bernal, everything coming out of Northtown and
Yeah,
coming.
Well, this year was down, so that was quick.
In these 3 areas I mentioned, no, those areas are people sitting there, eating and tossing their stuff out. That is not blow off.
Is it possible to do a temporary sign? And, I mean, I guess I don't know the difference, but, cost-wise, but is it possible to do temporary sign and see if it makes any difference? I wonder if putting a sign in is going to do anything but make us feel better if there's no enforcement behind it.
Well, there should be enforcement behind it, because we have police out there, if they see this happening.
Yeah, and
they're not
that's, I mean,
ticket.
that is the issue, is we have to see it happen.
Yeah.
Because there's no cameras that cover that area. It's, that would be a labor-intensive investigation to
Yeah.
find out who threw something out of their car, especially with the amount of cars that park in that area. And, you know, they can park there because it's a legal parking area.
Right.
So, I think it, you know, I mean, it's, as far as a temporary sign, I mean, there are cheaper options to the metal signs that would go up. We'd be happy for temporary parking for a parade and things like that. You can get something that looks exactly the same as a metal sign. It's just whether the council wants to pay for that, and knowing full well that we're actually gonna take that down, because those aren't made to be out long term.
Would council like to be a non-serial meeting and go out to those areas where we're looking to have to pick it up? Maybe that would be more ideal than
I'd be up for that.
you two barbers.
What?
Go pick up trash off the side
I-
somewhere.
I pick up a lot of trash.
So do I. That was my idea to do between City Hall and Hy-Vee, because, last year I was actually walking in the swamp to pull out some of the things that was open.
Those are special ones for a bunch of churches and a youth group to do this.
Well, the Boy Scouts, the Lions, had them do Highway 10 and the baseball team. But they have other activities also, so we're not always, no, just Tower Days would be a good place to have a sign up between
I like
certain,
that.
certain
I
areas
like that idea.
that are, really integrated with, trash, whether it's eating and just talking to the, we're gonna be Jersey Mike's, you know, out on the highway. I used to go to, but no, there's other actions we can take as long as it's not done as a serial meeting. You know, city, all we do is city give us bills, and the Lions have a lot, take a lot of it.
What's the consensus of the council?
Well, I would like the signs myself, those 5 signs.
I'd like to pick. It's cheaper than a hubby phone.
I like the idea of the sign up, seeing if there's any movement for that, for the sign up at Tower Days, and I would happily commit 1 day a month to picking up trash in those 3 areas.
Okay. So we'll talk to Dan and Park and Rec there.
Nope,
Work with,
nope, we got some.
oh,
One question from Public Works, you know, George, Public Works Director. Josh, I've seen in Northtown, they have, Lake Lane has a televised, tower crane or cam. Would it be enforceable if we were to catch somebody disposing of trash on a video like that, be able to send them a tag in the mail, or is it just for,
Yeah, well, I mean,
they know they're on film
yeah.
and trying to cheer?
The only issue we'd run into that, we'd have to run an investigation, which would be fine, we'd have the vehicle, we'd run that investigation on that, but if the camera didn't catch, like, say, a photo of the person inside the vehicle, then it would be very difficult to say, yeah, the owner of the vehicle is the one that did this. I don't think the owner would be responsible. We would have to investigate that and find out who's driving the car. A lot of times it's kids. And I will tell you that when our officers see like a high school kid throw something out of the car, they stop them, they make them get out of the car, go back and pick it up. So they're trying to do that training with them and kind of that correction with them. So in theory, yes, those cameras would work. It's just we would have to put a little bit more effort into those trailers. And then, on top of that, that would be something we'd have to find payment for, cause those trailers are, I think like, a small trailer is like 45,000. So, yeah, they're not cheap.
I mean, even if you rent one and put it out there for
Yeah.
a week for a deterrent,
Yep.
I mean, they don't know that it's being videotaped and that they're,
Yep.
that goes behind it. They just see a tower up there with a camera on it and think, okay, I'm gonna not park here and not throw stuff out. I mean, signs are fine, like you say, but I mean, unless we catch them, or see them doing it in the act, it's more visual garbage put out there. I mean, sign after sign after sign, so I mean, it's, lets them know that they're possible and fine with that, but if we can keep them from doing it in the first place, or the deterrence of some sort, maybe something.
Well,
to look into.
we are getting close to time, so, what's the sense here
Thanks, George.
to do, sign up and have some cleanup for now, or?
Put some signs up, maybe them cheap, kind of plastic ones for now,
Oh,
see if it
okay.
does, see if it does some work,
Alright,
or you're,
that's fine, we can put
it
some-
improves things before we buy a metal post, with the same warning on it, granted, it'll only last 6 months, but it's probably a tenth of the price, till some kid taking a lot of the ground, so it's never been much.
So I should look for signs, temp signs to purchase? Okay.
That's my thought, I don't know.
Is that the consensus?
If we have to put signs in at all, I mean, honestly, I think that signs don't necessarily work. It doesn't sound like the ones by Legend are working, so I'm not sure that putting more in is gonna help.
The big red ones
Oh,
on the corners don't work.
I'm sorry. I went from Fillmore, past Legends, and I didn't have to pick up, a couple things until I got to the next area that I was talking about. So it was working there.
Yeah, one day for you, but April just said after you said that she picks trash up along Legends along Banner Drive there regularly, so you may not have a typical experience in one Saturday.
I go biking quite often in these areas,
Well,
so I
and-
kinda know where the trash is and.
To be fair, if I'm being very, very transparent, with it being my neighborhood, I don't wanna see more signs. There's already so many signs. I don't wanna see more, and then buying some to see if it works to then pay more money to put the metal ones up. It seems like we're spending a lot so if we were really going to do signs, then we should just do the metal ones, cause then why spend more?
Right.
Okay, how about the metal ones, on Fillmore, two, one, down by the service drive, okay, and the other one down by the cul-de-sac.
I would be happy with those two,
Two,
100% by the cul-de-sac and over on that end.
Yeah.
I would be all for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
those are two very bad areas.
Cause there aren't signage over there, so I
Yeah,
would
there's
be. okay
nothing
with
there.
that.
I can have George check, we might have some metering signs around, so.
Okay.
We'll do some pricing, bring it back to council.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're about 3 minutes away from, council meeting, so we gotta.
5, so, but we should adjourn this, so
Okay.
people need to take a little break, they can't, so, thank you.